What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at the Superman collection. So you saw the collection update video where I rearranged everything. So now we'll go piece by piece, part by part through the collection. Today we'll start with Superman. The next, I don't know. But for now, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Let's check it out. The collection begins with a series of posters and signs that really set the tone for the rest of my display. Not just the Superman stuff, but the entire collection. Of course, as a Superman fan and mostly possessing all of these posters, it seemed like a good idea, good space to add these, and I like the way it's come together. There's still some space left, so that allows me to expand the collection at random, right? So everything from movie posters to these tin signs to custom artwork you'll find on this wall here. I do have two of this exact tin sign here. Both were gifts, so both made it into the display. That's just kind of how it works, right? So not only is it signs, but there are posters, as we saw previously. So that kind of leads you down the first four Christopher Reeve movies. That's right, I included Superman 3 and 4 because they need love too, and full disclosure, Superman 4 is a guilty pleasure of mine, and I do enjoy it, so it is what it is. First time we'll see some figures start to appear. I do have a couple on card here to kind of just add a little bit of something to fill some space, and that really did it pretty well. And then it moves into things like Smallville. You know, I'm not going to take up a lot of space for Smallville, but I did really enjoy that show while I was, in high school. So, of course, it gets its spot on the wall. Some of the superpowers, Superman figures, not all of them. I still have some that need to find a home on the wall somewhere, but this was kind of a start. I had a smaller area to fill, and they filled it perfectly. And then you get into the more modern Superman stuff. So not something I totally love because I haven't had enough time to grow that nostalgic fondness for it, but still deserving of a place on the wall. Now, that's the Superman movie that didn't get all the love it needed and didn't get the care it needed for some sequels. Shout out to Brandon Routh. And there's that sign again for the second time. This is actually the initial drawing of my very first tattoo, right? Of course, Superman tattoo. And then we get into the actual collection. So there you got Superman and Bizarro, and then Superman and Doomsday. Fill in some spots, just a nice little area on the shelf. And then it moves into the main portion of the display. So this shelf is really made up of some variants, some different styles of Superman, and it includes like Superboy Prime, so it dabbles a little outside as well, but I just needed an area to kind of give all of these figures their space, right? And why not put them together? That ties into moving it over into a little more traditional type Superman stuff, and one of the few places where you'll actually see Funkos in my displays. It's not for me, but when they make them for the characters I love, I got to pick up a couple. So you've got some in there. You've got some more random things. Of course, McFarlane's in there. There's some Mattel figures. Those DC Direct figures will be throughout as well. And then some other more random, maybe more cost-effective lines in there as well, as you see in the back there. And what I love about putting a display like this together is it doesn't fall into one line. I'm very specific in a lot of my displays, but for Superman, it was no holds bar, anything goes, so I could mix all these lines together, different sizes, different brands, all sorts of variation going on, which to me adds a different dynamic to this type of display, as it is a centerpiece in the display room. So if I'm going to do it, it's going to be for something like this, and also gives me a place to put things that aren't necessarily figures too, but go with the overall aesthetic. Here, this shelf is mostly going to be your more traditional look for Superman. When I was putting these together, I certainly wanted to make sure that I gave space to that aesthetic, right? More of the classic look. Now, you have variations, of course, but there aren't as big of variations as you saw on possibly the other shelf. So this one keeps it nice and classic, a little bit of room in there as well to expand, because this is an ever-growing collection, an ever-changing collection. Superman's always coming out. Now, I would love for a different brand to be in charge of the DC stuff, but one day that'll happen, and then I can get some new Superman figures in there. Moving to this shelf is where it starts to get a little more random, so you see a few action figures sprinkled in, along with some other things. Like you've got that George Reeves Superman VHS in the back, because I had nowhere else to put it, and I don't currently have a VCR to play that, right? So it's in the collection. Justice League down there, and then another variant Superman shelf, because as much crap as I love to give McFarlane about his Superman figures, he is at least giving me a lot of material to work with, a lot of variants. So it does, in a way, give me something to really build out the shelf. And speaking of that, it moves into another sort of variant type shelf. Most of the shelves are variants because there are a lot of variants of Superman. But you can see back here, even I have like the case for the Mezco in the back there. There's that artist sketch Jim Lee Superman, which I haven't opened yet. I just can't bring myself to do it. So that's kind of the overall big part of the Superman collection. There's still some more figures to go, but that's the main area, and it's still growing, still room to move on that. I've got everything from action figures to cookie jars, you can see here. So you'll see the Mafex and the Mezco in the back there. I'm still working on putting those together. Eventually, when I finish Reign of the Supermen for the Mafex figures, they'll actually move to a different area where I have all of my Reign of the Supermen and sort of a Death of Superman display that's in progress, which is right below this giant poster for that run, right? One of my favorites because it hit at the right time when I was growing up, and it's just had a lot of fun nostalgia to it. So I've got most of the Reign of the Supermen figures that I own right here. You've got a little bit of the Mattel, you've got some of those DC Direct, you've got the McFarlane stuff as well coming in there. So kind of a big, robust display that's in progress. Even though you have Superman for tomorrow, he's just standing in there as a general Superman for the moment. Eventually that will be replaced as well. But that kind of is where the collection ends, because it's the one that gets the biggest area based on the size of that poster. So thanks for checking it out.
Being erased, I'm being replaced. Counterculture's in your face. Trying to pretend that you want it to end. I'd rather be drinking with my friends when we go